Hi ladies, so I'm gonna do a little video because I promised this a while back and we were doing home renos, so I'm kind of been maxed for time. But I've had a few people message me and actually just had a chat yesterday with Bibi about this topic, so I think it's important. So this is for those babes out there who are suffering or struggling rather to land their leads and convert them into paying customers or clients. Okay, so when I was chatting about this with Bibi yesterday, we recognized that there was a continuity issue with her branding and even in fact a lack of branding. So branding is really important, but I'm not going to really talk too much about that in this conversation. I do have a video that I did for Jessie Dillon for her training academy that talks about branding, so I'll provide that link to you. But branding does go really hand in hand with a sales conversation because that is the consistent message that a person will be receiving when you're not dialoguing directly with them to build things like trust and familiarity with who you are. So branding is not just your colors and your font choices, continuity and that is really important, but branding is essentially the story about who you are, what your business looks like, so that when a person comes into the room, they already have a familiarity with you and they have an idea of who you are. But the most part is that you helped articulate that story. You didn't just let them come up with ideas on their own based on some random interactions they might have with your social media, stuff like that. You're actually helping to narrate that judgment that they're going to have with you. Okay, we're talking mostly though, what I want to talk about is sales. Okay, so the best way to describe sales and what to do and what not to do is to think of going to the grocery store and you're standing in front of canned tomatoes. So you'll see a can of tomatoes that are like $3. You'll see a can of tomatoes that is $2, and one can of tomatoes that's $1. So you know nothing about any of these can of tomatoes. Why would you choose the $3 can of tomatoes? You might assume it's going to be better because it's $3, but if you really don't know and you got all these other things on your list to buy, you're probably just going to either grab the $2 or the $1, depending on how you're feeling that day with your budget. But you're likely not going to choose that $3 can of tomatoes because you have absolutely no context about why that can of tomatoes is $3. So when a customer reaches out to you and they inquire about your price and you just respond with the price, you're making yourself a can of tomatoes. They have absolutely no idea why you are what you are, like for cost, I mean. They don't know why you're what your value is. So if they are a good consumer, they've probably shopped around. They've asked, a couple of other people what their prices are. If everybody just responds with a price, that person now has the power to just choose based on price. But it means doesn't really mean anything to them. They don't know why anybody is pricing, why this one's charging $200 for microblading and this one's charging $600 for microblading. They just don't want to pay $200. Why would I spend $200 if everything is equal? So it's your job to help them understand what your value is. And there's so many awesome ways you can do that. So another way to imagine this is actually a visual that I got from reading Jordan Belforte's information. You might have heard of him from Wolves of Wall Street, but his tactics, even though in that show or that movie, were pretty horrendous. Understanding psychology of buying is really important. He really understands psychology of buying. So the visual he creates is that you're on one side of a scale, your client's on the other side of the scale. It's your job to help that client come over to your side of the scale, right? So your job is to transfer that feeling of certainty so that your client's reason for purchasing outweighs their reason for walking away. So our job in sales isn't to manipulate people, convince people. We don't want those clients. We want people to be excited to be working with us. This isn't a used car, we will have an ongoing relationship. This is also our opportunity to attract the clients that we want to work with. So you have to change your perspective from trying to reel someone in to be more like a dialogue that's equal, where I'm sharing with you information about why I'm the value I am. I'm going to share with you information about what the whole experience will look like, and you can decide whether or not this resonates with you. In that as well, I'm also picking up feedback from that lead about whether or not they're a good client for me, okay? So we'll do some examples. For example, somebody reaches out, how much? Powder brows, how much? It's always direct and kind of boring. So if I just respond with, my powder brows cost $450 plus tax, period. Send, that person's now price shopping. I don't want to have a client that's picking me based on price, but two, that probably client's not going to contact me again because somebody next door to me is probably charging it cheaper. So, hey there, thanks for reaching out. I'm going to attach my service menu for you. I always do it in pretty JPEGs because honestly, who's got time to write all this shit out all the time? I don't. So I make a pretty little JPEG, which I will send to you if you want it. Not only is it my menu, but I also have on that I have over 150 5-star reviews. That's going to help build up credibility and trust. So even if they only look at the menu, they're like, oh, 150 reviews. This person said their cost was this much. I wonder how many reviews they have. Oh, 29 reviews. So I'm giving them something else. I'm not just giving them the price. Anyways, thank you for asking. I'm going to attach my price menu for you. I also have a really helpful cosmetic tattooing guide. It will help you to better understand the process, what you can expect, what services I offer, and also how to avoid botched brows in the future. Is this something you'd be interested in? I could happily send this to you, period. I've ended this with a question mark. So whenever you end your conversation, put a question, because somebody, when they see a question directed to them, A, they feel involved. They're like, ooh, this person wants to know more about me. But two, they also feel an obligation to respond. So person responds, hey, yeah, I would like some more information. That'd be really great. Thank you. Respond. Great, here's my guide for you. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. By the way, I'm known for creating a natural looking eyebrow. Is this a style you're interested in? Question mark. Person responds, yes, I love a natural looking style or bold style or whatever it is that you specialize in. Great, you can see what I'm doing now, right? So now I've been providing them information. Now this is an opportunity. So now they have my guide. They may or may not read it, but I have a dialogue now starting with them. Now I can respond with, amazing. Would you want to send me a photo and I can get a sense of what we're working with, and I might be able to make some suggestions based on your photo? Sure. Or if that feels too invasive right away, you can also say things like, hey, are you brunette? Do you have natural hair? If you don't want to send a photo, you could just, give me some information, and then I might send some examples of people with similar brow color or something like that. I try not to get into too much detail at that point because the person just wants to get some information and be able to relate to what it is that you do. So the key here is buying is a psychology game. Okay, people want several things met when they're buying. They want to feel smart. They want to feel empowered. They also are afraid that they're going to make a bad choice. They're looking for guidance, but they won't tell you that often. And the price point, when people ask how much, that's actually really low on the priority list. What it is it's the lowest hanging fruit for them. They know nothing about cosmetic tattooing, or might not know anything about cosmetic tattooing. So I can ask how much it is because that's something I know to ask. I wouldn't know to ask about hair strokes versus a powder brow versus, do you do pixeled ombre brows? Like, you might not know any of that language, so you can't ask about it. But I know how to ask about a price. So that's like the lowest hanging fruit. That's why they ask this question. They're not just price shopping. It's also because that's like their starting point in the conversation. So if you think about this, you're on your scale and it's your job to help them come to your side of the scale by transferring that confidence and trust in you you have to spoon feed them information to make them see whether or not you're a good artist for them. Okay, so that is pretty much the secret. That's all it is. I screenshot, I create JPEGs for most of this information. So a lot of the times I just add it in. These little dialogues, these 1 and 2 sentences, of course, I write that. I have a lot of stuff automated. So if it's responses through SMS or something like that, I might have a response, but it's not too detailed. It's usually like, do you have any questions for me? And then that sends a trigger back to me for me to then jump into the conversation, for example, running ads. Other ways to think about your sales process. When a person has converted and they're in your room, your job is now to create the experience that you built them up to. So you created this idea of what this amazing experience is going to be like. It's your job now to deliver, and even above and beyond, not just with eyebrows, but with all your little details. The details are going to be lining up with your brand consistency. So for example, if you're a luxury brand, you want people to feel like it's a luxurious experience. You're not going to hand them a water bottle. You're going to pour that water into something that looks like a champagne glass or something like that, and make it feel special. Okay, so the part of the sales process is still continuing this dialogue after they've been in the room, because you're going to benefit from them going and talking about your experience. So if you give them great eyebrows, they're already expecting great eyebrows, right? You want to give them something else that they weren't expecting. So for example, I encourage clients to wear something different to their appointment, something they forgot about that's in their closet, something daring, something fun, whatever it is, right? I encourage this. And if somebody comes in and they're like, oh, I wore this for you today, I was excited to put on this dress I haven't worn in years, I actually give them a ribbon that's like has a flamingo on it, it's pink. It's like those things you get when you're like in grade 2 running around a track. And it's a little spark of joy. It's unexpected. Not everyone gets one, only if you played the game. But the point is like it sparks a little bit of joy. And for me, joy is one of my core words to my branding. So I find all of the ways I can elicit some joy in their experience. So anyways, I hope this helps. This was a very broad overview, and I love talking about this stuff. So if something doesn't land or you don't quite understand it, please reach out to me and ask, and I'd love to help. I hope this helped you guys.